If you're like me, you've probably done a fair amount of digging on Reddit when you're thinking about making a big decision. And if you're thinking about moving to Katy, chances are you've gotten on those Reddit threads. Well, lucky for you, I'm going to cover today some of the frequently asked questions of Redditors and give you some of my opinion too. This isn't going to be the glossy information that you'd find in a brochure, but actual granular information that you would find kind of on the underground. Hi, I'm Carolyn Bauerschlag, a local real estate agent and resident of Katy, Texas that help people just like you relocate from all over the country right to our backyard. The first big frequently asked question I found on Reddit was, how hard is it actually to find childcare in Katy, Texas? And this is a great question. If you're moving to the burbs, it's likely that you have kids, and Redditors had a lot of responses. Now, the answers section said that you have a lot of options, and based on personal experience, I would say that's true. If you have a child that is in infancy up through preschool and you need full-time care, most of your options are going to be somewhere around $1,250 to $1,350 a month, or roughly $15,000 a year. Now, that's nothing to sneeze at, and a lot of people choose something like a Mother's Day Out program. Those Mother's Day Out programs are significantly less expensive, but you do get significantly less childcare. Most of these programs are 2 days a week, and 2 days a week for a month will charge you roughly $300 per month. Now, if you need a little bit more or a little bit less, it scales up and it scales down, but that's a really great affordable option for you if you need about 10 hours a week to yourself. And of course, as your children get older, they still need after-school care. We can't just let everyone get off the bus and go into the house. So if you need after-school care, there are buses that will take children from the public school to a particular after-school program. And those programs typically cost about $300 a month also. Another big question that a lot of Redditors asked is, how bad is the traffic actually in Katy, Texas? And as a local, I don't need to give you the Redditor's answer to give you the actual answer, but the reality of it is that Katy is densely populated. So if you are endeavoring to get somewhere during when school starts, so like from 7:30 to 8:30, and if you need to get somewhere when school is out at dismissal, so maybe from like 2:30 to 4, you're going to sit in some traffic. So if normally it takes you 5, 6, 7 minutes to get somewhere within Katy, I would say double it during the time when school starts and school ends. Now, if you need to get to a freeway like the Grand Parkway or West Park Toll or I-10, I would say if it normally takes you 10 minutes, it's probably going to take you 15, 16, 17 minutes to even just get to the freeway. So you absolutely need to plan accordingly. I wish the information was better here, but honestly, it's not. To give you a personal anecdote, I picked up my son to go to swim lessons, and it was about 7 miles away from his school, and it took me 25 minutes to get from one spot in Katy directly north to the other spot in Katy. So I wish it were different. It's not. Plan accordingly. Welcome to Houston. Another question that I saw on Reddit was kind of funny to me, but it said, if I move here from out of state, am I going to experience culture shock? Now, to me as a native Houstonian, I hear that and I think, well, Houston's super diverse. But I guess if you're out of state, maybe you have your idea of what Texas might be. But Katy in particular is extremely diverse. Now, we attract people that have jobs in the energy sector or in the medical field. And all of these people come from different states, but also from all over around the world. So you're going to see a lot of languages, a lot of English as a second language, and just a lot of cultural pride within the Katy area. Maybe a culture shock in a good way is the Southern hospitality that you will experience. If perhaps you're coming from the Midwest or Northern states, maybe people keep to themselves just a little bit more. But when you come into the South, you really are going to experience that warmth from people that you don't know. You're going to get smiles from strangers. You're going to get people that open the door. And if you move into your home, a neighbor will probably be on your front driveway relatively quickly. They mean well. It is genuine. And it's one of my favorite things about living in Texas. And if you're coming to Houston or the Katy area without your own network, the news is good. Redditors said that the best way to get plugged into an affinity group is to find them on Facebook. There you're going to be able to find people that like to play pickleball or into mahjong or like reading clubs or book clubs or are in moms groups or play a particular sport. And that's the easiest and fastest way to get involved with people in your community. Of course, another major topic on Reddit is whether or not Katy is actually flood prone. And Redditors had pretty good responses to this, and I'll give you my opinion here too. The Katy area does have watersheds. Now, Katy sits on the west side of 2 major reservoirs. And there are flood-prone areas that kind of go up and down the border of those reservoirs. So if you imagine Katy's on the west side of Houston, think of the east side of Katy, so closest into Houston that abuts those reservoirs. Those are areas that I would say are lower lying. Now, the good news is that our floodplains really are elevation based. So when you go to FEMA to try to look at elevation maps and therefore the floodplain maps, I would say it's very, very accurate for if a home was in the floodplain up and down those reservoir areas. It is highly likely that those homes did take on a little bit of water during Harvey. That's our biggest flood event that we've had here in the Houston area ever. There are areas in North Katy that I would say light up like a Christmas tree when you look at those floodplain maps. And unfortunately, over in North Katy, kind of up and down Avenue D. So think of like Katy proper. So like Highway 90, north of I-10, Avenue D, there's a big old watershed right there where there is a 100-year floodplain where those areas unfortunately do take on water habitually. So the follow-up question that Redditors had was, well, should I live there or should I not? And I'll give you the advice that I saw in the comments, but also from personal experience. In general, it's very easy to find a home that is in Zone X or a zero flood risk zone in the Katy area. And I would say the vast majority of people choose to live there. There are homes that are in the 500-year floodplain, which is a moderate flood risk, or a 0.2% chance every year that your home would take on water. There's beautiful properties in the 500-year floodplain. Most people will say that if it didn't flood previously, they're okay with buying a home in that area. But if it's in a 500-year floodplain that did flood, I would see more people are a little bit gun shy of that. Almost nobody that I work with personally opts to live into the 100-year floodplain because the risk is more or less imminent. There's a 1% chance every year that the house would take on water. And if we look at Harvey as kind of our guiding line, Hurricane Harvey, almost all of the homes that were in the 100-year floodplain did take on water in Katy. So hopefully that's a little bit helpful to you. The fifth frequently asked question I saw on Reddit kind of made me laugh. It was, are the bugs really that bad? And I would say yes. There are jokes, memes, things that you'll see where it's like, there's mosquitoes here the size of birds. The cockroaches were huge. They scare the fire out of me. I've never seen ant piles so big. And unfortunately, that is true. What we recommend to people is that you keep a pest contract on your home. Quarterly pest control is going to cost you about $120 per quarter. With these contracts, they will come and they'll treat for fire ants. They'll look out for spraying for roaches for you. They'll sweep wasps' nests out of the eaves of your home. And they'll also do termite checks quarterly too. So termites are, I would say, not a given in Texas. I know places like Oklahoma, they are. Termites are not a given, but it's certainly something that you have to be vigilant about. So quarterly pest contracts, in my opinion, are a must, and we highly encourage you to keep them. Some homeowners will opt into a mosquito misting system where you can basically just get little fine spray that will spray for mosquitoes during our wet season, which is essentially, I would say, from March all the way through October. But they are kind of expensive. So what other people do is they just plant things that are native to Texas that mosquitoes don't like. The sixth really big question that kept coming up over and over is Katy actually affordable? And this is a complex question to answer. Now, the median price point for all of Katy, and by that I mean North Katy, South Katy, was $395,000. And that is 5% lower than the median house price for anywhere in the United States, which is somewhere around $415,000. So yes, we're about 5% less expensive, but the answer is a little bit more nuanced. If you look at North Katy in general is more affordable. So this is anything north of I-10. Median price point over there is going to be $345,000. And if you're looking south of the freeway, I would say it's less affordable. So it's weird for me to sit there and say to somebody, yes, $500,000 median sales price is a completely affordable house. That still sounds very foreign to my ear. But in general, $345,000 median price point at North Katy, $500,000 median price point south. Now, separate and apart from the price of the house, the thing that's really going to kind of eat your lunch is going to be property taxes. Now, property taxes in Texas are one of the main ways that Texas derives revenue for the state. So we don't have an income tax, but Texas needs to get money somehow, so they're going to charge you off your property. In general, in the Katy area, what I ask people to think about for budgeting for property taxes is 2.5%. Now, there are plenty of places where this is going to be a lot higher, and there are places where this is going to be lower, but I would say the range is probably somewhere from on the low end, 1.9%, on the high end to 3.6%. So kind of split the difference and say 2.5% is what you should expect. Now, to put numbers to that is very easily a $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 tax bill, which is hugely significant. So don't get caught up in that. Now, Texas does recognize that this is difficult for homeowners, so there are homestead exemptions that help reduce that tax burden, but maybe only by about 10%. Now, if you are 65 and up, if you happen to be disabled, or if you are a veteran, there are additional exemptions available to you. But either way, that property tax is going to be significant. Another thing that really dings affordability here in Katy, Texas is unfortunately homeowners insurance. When I'm working with a buyer and we're doing a consult here in 2025, I tell people to expect at least $3,000 a year just for hazard insurance. And even just a couple of years ago, what I would tell people is $2,000 a year. And really 5 years ago, I would tell them you could get a great policy for $1,800. And that was with a 1% wind and hail deductible. So when I say $3,000 for a regular insurance policy, that unfortunately is a 2 or 3% wind and hail deductible. So that is very significant to people's carrying costs, and I don't want to gloss over that. So if you have further questions about it, drop a comment in the link or in the box below, and I'll chat you through it. Another Redditor wanted to know, is Katy walkable? And I would say the responses here were mixed, and I'll give you my answer, which I think tracked everyone's opinion, which is basically Katy's less walkable than you'd want it to be. Now, what I mean by that is that in master plan communities, in these beautiful neighborhoods that Katy is well known for, like Cane Island, Cinco Ranch, Cross Creek Ranch, all of these beautiful neighborhoods, Grand Lake, Seven Meadows, there are hundreds of miles of interconnected sidewalks and walking trails between these communities. So if what you're trying to do is get some nice outdoor exercise, yes, Katy is very walkable. But if what you mean is, can I park my car on a public street and go out and stroll about and get wherever I need to go and walk my groceries home, I would say absolutely not. If you need to go to a grocery store, if you want to go to La Centera, which is where the shopping and kind of restaurants and dining is in Katy, get in your car. Part of this is just because you're going to sweat to death wherever you're going. And the other part is that you're probably going to be several miles away from kind of the major amenities. So being in the burbs is, of course, a big benefit because you've got some elbow room, but elbow room does create further distance from all of the great walkable things. Another sort of complicating factor with whether or not Katy's walkable is, of course, the weather. I love to walk my dog. He's my little 30-pound love, and he loves nothing more than to go on a walk. But realistically, if I need to take him out, it's going to be full sunscreen, a water bottle for me, a dog bowl for him, and we're going to try to keep it to 30 minutes. I don't want him to get overheated, and quite frankly, both of us are sweating quite a bit by that 30-minute mark. So I would say walking there is a little less fun than maybe it could be. The last major question I saw on Reddit was, does Katy have a good medical system? And I can tell you here that the answer is a resounding yes. Redditors all agreed that Katy benefits from the major hospital systems that have satellite locations outside the medical center. So when you move to Katy, you will see Memorial Hermann Hospital, Methodist Hospital, Texas Children's Hospital. And within the last few years, we actually got an outpost for MD Anderson for people that need to receive treatments, right? So if you had a medical emergency and you lived in Katy, it's likely that you wouldn't be more than about 15 minutes away from a world-renowned major hospital branch. Now, if your issues were perhaps a little more pronounced, or if you needed more specialized care, and it's not an emergent situation, the best news is that you are about 40 minutes away from a world-renowned, world-class Texas medical center. So doctors from all over the country and really all over the world, and then patients from all over the country will actually come to receive treatment at the medical center. And this is a huge factor that comes up for folks that either have a health issue or are looking at older age. There's a lot to love about Katy, and if I didn't answer a question that you still have, please feel free to drop that question in the comments. I read each and every one of them and would love to chat with you about anything that you want to know. And if you're moving to Katy, I would love to be your realtor. I'm a living, breathing person right here, ready and available to take your call. The best way to reach me is going to be in the comments. If you found value in the video that you watched today, make sure to click the link below and subscribe. We put content like this out every single week. See you soon.